This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Place to Be Nation Pop Experience. Welcome back to Whatever It Takes, where a Degrassi podcast, where tonight me and my co-host, we are going to discuss Degrassi Next Generation episodes 7 and 8, entitled Basketball Diaries, and I believe it is Secrets and Lies, right, John?
Secrets and Lies, yeah.
Yep, and with that, let me introduce to you my co-host, John Kesalika. John, how are you doing tonight?
Doing great. Took my Ritalin this morning so that, I could make sure to focus in on our recording together. Here we are, joined, as I pointed out to you, I learned it's International Podcast Day. So, we can celebrate by recording, sir. Good to be here.
Yes, it is. And John, these two Degrassi episodes, the days they recorded are very interesting, because the first episode, episode 7, came out in Canada November 18th, 2001, and doesn't make it into the USA until April 29th, 2002. On November 18th, 2001, that was WWF Survivor Series, which is very interesting. It's like, on the Canadian side of things, we have Degrassi. On the U.S. side, it's WWF Survivor Series.
Okay. You and I, obviously, with the Place to Be here, started mostly from a wrestling message board and has a lot of wrestling fans, and we've grown into these pop culture realms as well. So, yeah, maybe there were some people who were in Canada, some of our listeners or friends in Canada, who were really, either getting the two-screen experience going, trying to make sure they could follow Degrassi and Survivor Series that night, or having to make the decision and record one.
Yeah.
What have your pick been in 2001, Gurney?
It would have been Survivor Series.
Survivor Series, all right.
So I guess at the time in 2002, that's sort of like when Teen Nick was launching, and it felt like Degrassi, The Next Generation, was the launching pad for Teen Nick, along with like other teen shows that you would used to watch on Nickelodeon back in the 90s. Like you said, Pete and Pete and a couple others.
Yeah, the network really started as this kind of home to programming that had also ran, usually was in the Nickelodeon family, either from the US or Canada. So it was, for me, it was this like weird nostalgia bump all of a sudden, where my friends in college were like, oh, wow, Pete and Pete's on. They had, I think they were doing Clarissa episodes maybe at the time, which wasn't something I was a big fan of growing up, but some of my friends did. And then they had also included these weird Canadian dramas like Caitlin's Way, which was about a girl who liked horseback riding, if I recall, and and some others. But among those, in one of the kind of the tentpole shows that they started with was Degrassi, which clearly wasn't a Nickelodeon program in the U.S. growing up, since it aired on, when we originally saw it, it aired on like PBS, but now, had those Canadian ties, and being able to touch with was a perfect home for the Teen Nick audience. And they, as far as like the show schedulers, had it originally as just airing like once a week with the new episodes, but they saw its popularity, saw how it was something that people, that fans in the US wanted to see, and they started loading like almost every night with Degrassi related content eventually, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Teen Nick would become the home to Degrassi and a bunch of other shows. They even had replays of Saved by the Bell on Teen Nick at one point too.
Did they? Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, like way down the line, like in 2006 or 2007, all on digital cable. So with that being said, let's deep dive into episode 7 titled Basketball Diaries. Like I said, it aired in Canada November 18th, 2001, and it reaches the U.S. April 29th, 2002. Jimmy is trying out for the basketball team along with Sean and Spinner. Jimmy says he hasn't pushed himself hard enough when showing for the coach, and so he says, "Oh, go on without me, Spin. I just have to shoot a couple of more times." And Spinner's like, "Dude, you're going to be late." He goes, "I don't care. I have to make the basketball team." So we know that Jimmy is the big sports guy, and he will not give up trying to make the basketball team. He'll stop at nothing.
Right. And we get introduced to this new setting, a new place we've seen in Degrassi, although we may have seen it during like the Parents' Day or seminar, like the kind of like group meetings there. But we're in the gymnasium at Degrassi, and much like a lot of school gyms that we see on TV, they look, we can't exactly shoot on a very big set. So basketball courts always end up looking pretty small. And Degrassi is no different here, right? But that's why that's why Jimmy is so focused on mastering his layups because of the confined spaces, not exactly working on an outside shot at all. His move that he tells Spinner he really needs to master here ends up being a very slowly developing behind the back dribble into a layup, and he's like, that'll get me on the team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not exactly like an Allen Iverson crossover ball handling or anything here for Mr. Drake.
No, and what I thought is this the first time that we are introduced to Mr. Armstrong as well?
Coach Armstrong. Well, has he been a teacher? Has he been Mr. Armstrong? This is the first time we see him as a coach, or I'm not sure.
Coach, but he's also a teacher too.
Yeah.
But I know that I think this is the first time that we're introduced to Coach Armstrong as well.
Welcome aboard, Coach.
Mm-hmm. Miss Kwan.
Apparently the only coach in the school, because he goes on to coach the football team, the field hockey, the hockey team, and all of these things too.
Yeah, and he's going to be the wrestling coach too at one point.
All right.
Miss Kwan is asked for Jimmy's homework, but he doesn't have it. Miss Kwan says he can't juggle school and sports. Liberty then prepares Ashley her notes for the morning announcements. While in homeroom, Liberty is mad that Ashley uses all of Liberty's material as her own. Emma says Liberty should ask Radich to have Ashley share the morning announcements with her. So Liberty is campaigning basically that Ashley should let her do the morning announcements sometimes, since Liberty writes the jokes.
Yeah, Liberty really starting to feel a little, that maybe she deserves some of the shine. She has her friends or classmates egging her on for this, pointing out all the hard work she does in writing the announcements that Ashley delivers, and even putting some, classic comedic material here together, as she set her up with, hey, the team from Earl Grey, if you see them using lighters, it's because they lose all their matches. Liberty Van Zant. But she doesn't even take credit for it. She says, I looked it up. So maybe that is a window into the sense of humor that is in Liberty. Not exactly Seinfeldian here.
No, so Jimmy is struggling to get his homework done, and Liberty wants to be reading the morning announcements. So two problems.
Mm-hmm, yeah, and cleanly set up, for two characters. What they're hoping to do, and let's see how they kind of, if they intertwine, or what their approaches are for it.
Mm-hmm. Jimmy and Spinner are talking, and Jimmy is afraid that Miss Kwan will talk to Coach Armstrong about Jimmy's schoolwork. Liberty tells Ashley that she should get to do the morning announcement, but Ashley says no. Then the guys are trying to make shots in the gym. Jimmy is seen reading and makes a layup, but Coach Armstrong says they're working on their shots, not their layups. So Jimmy is definitely trying to balance basketball and doing his homework here, John.
Yeah, I thought this showed like a distinct effort on Jimmy's part. So it sets up what happens later for him and his decision for it even better, because it seems like he is earnest in his desire to make the team. Obviously, we know that, but he's going to try what putting in his real effort to balance that with school. I mean, obviously, we get the shot of everybody in practice, in their jump shot line and taking risks, as coach, points out how Sean followed through with his wrist, to really praise it and hit it home. But Jimmy on the bench reading Lord of the Flies. I think it, again, that just shows that he is trying his best. He's going to put in the effort to try to pass the class and still make the team. What do you think of Coach Armstrong kind of shaming Jimmy for trying to be a true student athlete and keeping the student part in there, as he says to him, unless you want to keep reading, like on the sideline. But, come on, coach, help your students too.
Coach Armstrong needs basketball players, not readers.
Meanwhile, yeah, Jimmy also said to Coach, Jimmy, we got into maybe the mindset of Jimmy, and that wouldn't match up with the analytics guys in basketball these days, where he said layups are way more important than 3-pointers. So
yeah,
the way the game has shifted with the Steph Currys and players averaging however many 3 attempts a game, maybe Jimmy wouldn't fit into today's game.
Mm-hmm. So Coach Armstrong says that the final cuts will be made after the game versus Earl Grey is called the school. And this is our first opponent and mention of another school in around the Toronto area here. You have Degrassi and Earl Grey. We have not been introduced to what will be a focal point in the series, Lakehurst. It is called Earl Grey for now.
Yeah, they used an actual school name from the Toronto area, which I thought was like, I did a double take at the name because I thought, why are they talking about a T for who they were playing? But sure enough, Earl Grey is a public or community school in Toronto, so much in the same vein of what Degrassi is meant to be here. I wonder if that was used in like a tip of the hat to, hey, this is the type of school we're trying to capture in MTV, so to give the show a bit more place in real time, in real place here.
Mm-hmm. Jimmy is then complaining that he might not make the team. Spinner tells Jimmy that Ritalin could help boost Jimmy, and he thinks about it. Jimmy then hands in his assignment and tells Miss Kwan he relates to the character Ralph in Lord of the Flies. Jimmy then says he is wiped for the game and asks Spinner for a Ritalin pill. Spinner says it's his last pill, but he gives it to Jimmy. So Jimmy takes a Ritalin pill, John.
Exactly. And they've teed this up as the couple times we've seen Spinner already in this episode. He is, beeper goes off or alarm goes off, and then we see him take a pill. So we know that he is doing this regularly, like in school at specific times, so that he can keep his ADD or ADHD, whatever it may be, under control. You're right. Jimmy makes this decision, and Spinner, who looks at him with the desperation of like, it's my last pill, man. Like, I don't know. Gives it to him. And the real drama, I guess I should say, or melodrama with which we treat Jimmy going out into the hallway in this kind of like, it's almost treated as this covert operation that he has to do to be able to take the Ritalin pill. Is he's like looking up and down the hallway. Even when Mr. Radich comes by, he's kind of like immediately pocketing it, trying to act like everything's normal, and then makes that decision and takes the one Ritalin pill that is going to have serious effects on both Jimmy and Spinner.
Yes, because if Mr. Radich did find Jimmy with a Ritalin pill, he would know that that's not yours, Jimmy.
would Mr. Radich know this is a Ritalin pill, or would he think like, oh, you've got a headache and are taking an aspirin or something? Like, I don't know. Maybe in Canada they're so very tuned into identifying Ritalin abusers at this point that they need to. Their teaching staff is well trained in that.
I think Radich is very well trained in identifying pills, especially from his days in the Degrassi High days.
Gotcha.
Meanwhile, Liberty then tells Ashley she is going to go on strike and will not give Ashley new material. So Ashley says, well, you do the morning announcements then. I'll give in and you can do it, even though you're not a professional and I am. Have fun with all the game day hype here. So
what were your thoughts? We didn't really get into what were your thoughts on Ashley at the start of this episode and as it's gone through? I think this is some of the most real character we've given her, or the most we've kind of seen her. She's not just one note pining about Jimmy or worrying about running for election. She actually seems proud of what she does with the announcements and is working with Liberty here. Not kind of, I don't know, just she seems to actually have more agency and more earnestness behind her character.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think she could have been nicer about it to Liberty and being well, you don't know how to do this. I do. So maybe I can teach you so you can do it for next year. But Liberty is just no, I can do it. And Liberty is going full speed ahead with taking over for Ashley doing the announcements here.
Yep.
Liberty is then making faces, not knowing that the camera is on and she's on the air. So she's making those fish faces and the classic gag of, oh, everyone's watching you, but you have no idea that the camera's on.
Yeah, this shot of Liberty doing the facial exercises, trying to warm up for her on-screen debut, is one that they would use a lot of times over the years to kind of show the awkwardness as a memory of where Liberty started and how she developed. And I think it's a perfect encapsulation of that. It's a funny, relatable moment of being caught and oh my God, having to, of doing something that you're not expecting people to see, but then having to continue on anyway. So nice moment here for Liberty. Actually, probably so far we're in Liberty's strongest episode too, as she is not just a cartoon overachiever as she's been earlier.
Yep. Liberty starts to struggle with her words and ends the announcements early. The classic gibberish, stage fright. And Liberty then realizes that she has stage fright and she ends the announcements early. But again, people are laughing and starting to make fun of her in a way.
Oh, are you talking about calling her loser, Van Zant? I mean, come on, that hurts, guys. The Degrassi kids, as nice as they can be, they'll turn on you quickly.
Uh-huh. Jimmy is getting ready for the game, and Coach Armstrong's like, Jimmy, are you paying attention? He goes, yeah, Coach, I'm ready. All right. Jimmy is just fired up, and this is one of the effects of Ritalin. John, is this really the effect of when a normal person does take Ritalin? Does they get all fired up here?
So as somebody who, grew up not really experimenting with drugs or alcohol at that point, I very much took what I knew of it from shows like this and from shows like 90210 to be you know what, that's what drugs will make you do. So who knows? Yeah, apparently you're going to just be all synapses firing, unable to shut up, saying absurd things, and ready to just dominate the tiny basketball court wherever you are. Similarly, when David in 90210 is doing speed later on, I thought that the only way you take this drug is with orange juice, because he kept asking hey, you got some orange juice so we could dump the speed in. But now I know Ritalin was a way to do it with just a pill. And so put into context what the other kids in my school who were on Ritalin, man, if I took it, I could be fired up on basketball here.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not a doctor and don't have an idea if this would be the immediate effects. But great way of being able to demonstrate it, as we can see that Spinner told him, hey, it takes about an hour to kick in. And I don't know, Jimmy's having some positive for him, for his moment, what's going to be helpful, I guess, in the basketball game.
Mm-hmm. Jimmy is getting ready. Like I said, Jimmy gets ready for the game, and we go to the game. Jimmy has the ball. He makes a shot instead of passing it to Sean, who is open. So Sean really wants to try and make it to the team. He tries, like, saying, oh, I'm open. And then we get a shot of Liberty. She tries to go to the gym, but runs away after people make fun of her. Jimmy, again, has the ball and doesn't pass it. And then so they go into the half, and Spinner is going out of his mind. He's like, go, Jimmy, go, Jimmy, go, Jimmy. And Coach Armstrong is just like, Gavin, relax.
Yeah, we've seen that, like, and they set this up for us. Spinner said, hey, if I don't take the pill, I'll be bouncing off the walls. That's why they call me Spinner. You know, he even told us that earlier. Hey, how do you think I got that name? It's probably from past, like, rambunctious behavior and how he used to be seen in class or outside or even in, like, sporting teams here. But the Ritalin helps that he is, like, able to, you know, to be calmer and be in control of his emotions. And we see him in that first half is jumping up and down, is just yelling support for Jimmy, and when he's supposed to just be on the bench, like, handing out towels. And, you know, Coach Armstrong is like, hey, something's up here. Did these kids swap Ritalin? Or he hasn't drawn that conclusion, but, you know, maybe Radich with his experience would have figured that out right away.
Ashley goes into the bathroom and hears Liberty crying. Ashley says Liberty wasn't horrible, and that Ashley offers to help Liberty so she could be ready to take over when Ashley graduates middle school.
Right. Yeah, when Ashley, but yeah, I guess that's what she means, graduates middle school. She's like, I'm going to graduate next year. But then, of course, it turns out they all stay in the same school for the next 5 years or whatever anyway, right?
Yes. How does that work? Graduate. Uh-huh.
But no, this goes to Ashley's, like, real, like, growth as a character and giving us more of her, like, in trying to help people with their problems. We've seen her be upset when Toby wanted to run for president because it was messing up with her, instead of trying to, like, help with Toby in, like, making friends or in not feeling like less than her. But here she sees a way to, you know, that she can help somebody out who is, you know, her brother's same age. So it's useful. Ashley, this is, like, a great episode for her.
Mm. Coach Armstrong is asking the team if they know what to do during the halftime, and they all say, yep. You know,
Hold on, Grudy. Hold on. Please pause and give some respect to Coach Armstrong's amazing halftime speech, which was, stay with your man, keep up the pace, play as a team. I mean, really, way to go, Coach. Way to rally the troops. I don't know if the writers really were giving the basketball its real, like, you know, attention to detail that it needed. Maybe not a bunch of former athletes on the staff here.
Yeah, so he's telling the team what to do and asks Jimmy if he hears him, and Jimmy just goes, loud and clear, Coach, loud and clear. I'm ready.
For as dialed back as Aubrey Graham has been in his performance so far in episodes, kind of like mellow or whatnot, somebody told him, like, just go for it here today and just ramp it up, because he is hilarious in the way he is just, you know, speeding through things. He's up there with you know, other sitcom or memorable TV characters experiencing amphetamines for the first time, I should say. Right?
Yep. So then Spinner turns up the music and performs his own halftime show, and he starts mooning the crowd. Not really, like, he doesn't really pull his pants down, but he starts doing, like, the motion of over the moon, and Mr. Radich is so disappointed in him that he tells him to go take a walk to my office. So Spinner is in trouble. He is told that no more extracurricular activities for him, but he's like, Mr. Radich, I'm sorry, I just forgot to take my pill. And Mr. Radich like, you know better, Gavin. You have all the clocks and stuff. He goes, yeah, I just forgot this one time. So Mr. Radich then says he will take his pill in front of Mr. Radich's personal secretary every day from now on. So Mr. Radich will keep an eye on Spinner and his pill taking, making sure that Spinner takes the pills.
Yep, yeah. Spinner has landed himself in a bit of trouble here. Not serious enough to warrant suspension, but hey, he is maybe the freedoms he had of being trusted to take his medication on his own are taken from him, and he's going to be doing it at the office or at the nurse's station every time. That's going to be a bit disappointing to him, but it could have been far worse. Interesting that. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, it could have been worse that Mr. Radich could have asked him, did you give someone your last pill? Because I know how many pills you have, and, Mr. Radich could have been keeping up with Spinner's record of how many pills he takes during the day, and he could realize that, oh, he didn't take it. Did you give it to somebody? So at least he didn't get too fishy into questions here.
Right. Yeah, so absolutely. He didn't put two and two together when watching Jimmy's performance in the first half of the basketball game either, I guess. So.
No.
Just Jimmy being aggressive and going for the win, right?
Yeah. So it's the end of the game. It's almost like the end of the game. Jimmy loses the ball and Sean gets it back. Sean tries to make the game-winning shot, but Jimmy knocks him down and makes the shot himself. So Degrassi wins on a buzzer beater. 39-37 is your final score. Degrassi beats Earl Grey. As everyone is filing out of the gym, Emma says Jimmy was a lunatic out there. So she has strong feelings for Sean that, oh, he could have hurt Sean and everything. And they're like, oh, you just like him, blah, blah. But Toby and JT are like, oh, I could see us winning all the way with Jimmy and stuff. Like, they really look up to Jimmy, even though he was a ball hog.
Yeah, I mean, if you're able to knock out a power like Earl Grey, like, who's to say what can stop you, how far you can go, right? Listen, not to be overly negative and just harp on the basketball scenes. I think they're funny and they're limited in what they can do, but just like this small court leads to like Sean and Jimmy are basically standing next to each other, and the defender is clearly still covering Sean, but he goes, I'm open. And the same thing happens with Jimmy. This is mirrored to like one of the very early Fresh Prince episodes where Will was hot dogging on the basketball court and would be ignoring Carlton, saying the same thing of I'm open, though on a tiny basketball court well guarded. So I don't know. Maybe they watched that episode the same day when they were putting this together and said, "What if we use another future rapper to take this?" Or maybe Drake watched that and said, he was in Fresh Prince and then became an even bigger music career. I could do the same. But no, the Jimmy shoving of Sean to take the ball away is just so blatantly egregious. It's weird that the entire crowd and team are celebrating with him. Like they don't, like Coach Armstrong and Emma are the only two people in the world who see something weird about the fact that he shoves his teammate to the ground so that he can take a shot. Hey, that's Degrassi world though. And thank God they're entering into the season with the team on fire.
Mm-hmm. Well, at least the starting the season on fire, because these are tryouts still. So we'll see if we get more basketball episodes with.
What a crowd to show up for the tryouts, right?
Yeah, scrimmage at least, hopefully.
That's school spirit.
Then Liberty is seen doing the post announcements. So Ashley again letting Liberty have a hand in the announcements where she's calm and she's not stumbling on her words, and she does it very calm, cool, and collective.
Yep, Liberty has under some coaching from Ashley and maybe with a bit of a boost from confidence and hearing from her and getting that advice is willing to give it another shot and to try it, and she does. She handles herself well and is able to kind of just be an announcer on the morning announcement. So way to go, Liberty.
Mm-hmm. The team is celebrating their win, and Mr. Armstrong cuts Jimmy from the basketball team in a shocking line. He says, "You're cut, you're a ball hog, and you injured your own players." So Jimmy is in disgust, like, how can you cut me? And that's basically how we end the episode here.
Yeah, we end right there. Apparently, this shove from Jimmy was strong enough to maybe break Sean's ankle, according to Coach Armstrong. Like, he may have a broken ankle. And they're tending to him with ice on the bench in the locker room. But this is the big difference. We were talking about this a bit off air. The episode ends with Jimmy just in a new space, in a new place, and not from the beginning of his being hopeful of making the team and pretty much assured that he would. He was a standout player already, and if his 12 points against Earl Grey weren't going to get him there because of his personal behavior here, he's kind of wondering and kind of going to be looking for direction. We don't sum up in just everything perfectly here, but we are now kind of on this pseudo cliffhanger, or just knowing that, all right, the show's going to exist and characters are going to grow throughout. I think we saw that earlier, even when we had a few mentions of Sean. One was the reason he explains that he's at the basketball team is because my social worker says it's a good idea for me to be in a team activity like this. So that just even is hearkening back to, oh yeah, Sean lives with his brother and is not with parents and is, maybe had been in some trouble before. We don't need to make it its own episode thing. These are just existing character traits throughout because people are now being established. And so Jimmy's going to have this of his experience looming over him that we can see and how it affects him moving forward. I really, really loved that this was not an ending that brings us back to, okay, Degrassi next week will be back to the normal Degrassi that you know of it, and everything starts anew for these characters. It really feels like we're going to be building a real universe here, and all of these events that we watch matter.
And we'll see what happens with Jimmy, and will he learn from his mistakes and try and be a better teammate and a better person.
There you go.
Because now
I thought it was a great episode.
Hog, yep. So, John, MVP, who do you have?
It's tough to say because he was such a jerk at times, but it's got to be Jimmy, I think. Jimmy is, really kind of goes through it the most here in this episode, and if anything, for his manic acting that comes in the basketball efforts, I think that puts him over the top. I do admire that he is trying to be the model student who is able to balance academics and his sport, and that he's not immediately looking for a shortcut to do so, but understands the temptation of it, especially when it's coming that close to the game and he doesn't have time. But he, all in all, still seems like a good natured person and has a lot to pick up in this episode. So good stuff for Jimmy.
I was gonna give it to Coach Armstrong because
the coach.
Yeah, he made the right call by cutting Jimmy for Jimmy's blatant disregard for his teammates and injuring his own player and being a ball hog. And Coach Armstrong was like, I cannot have this guy on my team. He's what I don't need on my team. So, and then I was actually going to give the LVP to Jimmy for like all of his shenanigans and not being a team player, even though he is under the influence of a drug. He's just like, oh, well, I'm just going to be the ball hog and injure my own player because I want to make the team as well.
Yeah, but I think his development far outweighs it. And obviously the episode centers around, for the most part, his efforts in basketball. So if we lost him, the episode we'd get more time on the announcements, and then maybe they'd figure out another storyline to fill in with the media immersion kids in some way.
I would also think that like Liberty is the LVP because she just wants what she wants, even if people say she's not good at it. She's like, I can do it. It's like, really think about it before you say I can do it. Can you really do it, or are you going to struggle?
See, I kind of go the other way on that for Liberty as an LVP. I'm not a big Liberty fan overall, and especially in a lot of these early episodes where, like I said, she's been kind of just this cartoonish, overachieving, nerd who wanders into scenes to just say something obnoxious, and then move off so that she can go talk to her dad, the mayor's assistant, who knows the mayor or whatever. But here she was, she was really, really working hard at her job, which was writing the scripts, but not aspiring to be a host, actually just like hearing from people, hey, maybe you should try to do something different. And so she's trying something new. It is a push out of her, quote unquote, and I get into, sorry, this repeats like my students in their essay writing, but getting out of their comfort zone. And Liberty is trying to do that, although it might at first be from the resentment for Ashley getting credit for the announcements, but more so it is just, a desire for self-improvement at the end. And I think she actually comes off much more human in this episode. So had she been the Liberty of old in this, in behaving and doing the same things, I think she would get my LVP. But here, I think there's a much more human portrayal, and she's great for that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's Emma, because like Emma goes, oh well, Liberty, you should just tell Ashley that you got to do the announcements. Don't even ask, like, I'm doing the announcements. So maybe it's Emma. I don't know.
Yeah, Emma is the opinion that nobody asks for, but gets added to it anyway. And it's a situation that Jimmy is a lunatic out there. Like, really, why are we hearing from Emma on everything?
Yeah. So let's go into episode 8 now, called Secrets and Lies. This aired in Canada December 9th, 2001, and in the United States May 6th, 2002. So more wrestling pay-per-view nights here, as Vengeance 01 was also this night, John.
Vengeance 01. Boy, 01 was a year that I was at Northwestern and did not have cable in a room, so watching wrestling was far less common for me. But I did follow along online in the dirt sheets or in the Rick Skya boards and such at that time. I can't really. What was Vengeance 01?
It's when Chris Jericho becomes the first undisputed champion.
He beat The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin in the same night.
Yep.
You'd hear about that for as long as Degrassi was on the air and beyond that.
Yep.
Oh, so okay, yeah, a notable event, and so a really big event for Canada. I imagine Canadian viewers were torn over watching one of their own having the chance to accomplish this or keep up with Ashley's gay dad.
Spoilers.
Sorry.
It's all right. It's been it's way over the spoiler line here. It's been like 20 years. So yep. So we finally understand the background of Ashley here. She comes from a divorced household, and we're going to figure out why now, because again, Ashley's mom married Jeff Isaacs, so that's So Jeff Isaacs, Toby's dad, is not Ashley's real father. It's her stepfather, for all we know. We don't even know if they got married or not. All we know is that Jeff moved in with Toby, and they're one big happy family, too. So Ashley's dad is driving Ashley home. Her dad is going to speak tomorrow at the school. She again goes home and talks to her mom. And her mom was like, "Oh, well, I'm glad everything was fun with your dad." And she goes, "Oh, thanks, you know." So we see that like Miss Kerwin or Miss Isaacs now is giving like the looks of, "Oh, I don't think you know everything." So
yeah, she hits with this like, is that all you talked about? Like, did you talk about anything? Like there's some big surprise or something that they're supposed to. So clearly setting the seeds that maybe Miss Isaacs at this point, like you said, was expecting there was going to be some sort of conversation along during this hangout between Ashley and her dad. Yeah, they're in the kitchen that we thought might have been, Toby's dad's separate apartment in the house, but it looks like everybody uses it. So all right, we're establishing some ground rules for the house too. I liked.
Yeah. Because she knows the secret. Like, she knows why, obviously, they got a divorce and why Ashley's dad left. He actually went to Europe to go find himself.
Right.
Terry shows Ashley a locket. Terry's dad gave her a locket after her mom passed away. I think this is the first time that that it's been revealed that Terry's mom has passed away. In the episode Eye of the Snake or something?
Eye of the Beholder.
Eye of the Beholder, sorry. Yeah, Eye of the Beholder. We just know that it's like Terry and her dad live together, but we don't know where Terry's mom is. Now we do, that she passed away.
Right. Yeah. So a first real mention of that, and she's, admiring, she carries it, remembering that her mom told her how beautiful she was and everything that is meaningful for her. So, we can see her cherishing that two parent relationship, whereas Ashley is kind of like, now living with her parents separated, and how like wondering about kind of starting to wonder about what that means for what her dad feels about her, as we'll kind of explore in this episode.
Mm-hmm. Emma actually asked Sean if he did his homework. Then JT throws an airplane at Mr. Simpson, and Liberty says she made the airplane and threw it at him. And then Liberty starts to daydream about JT, and then Emma tells JT Liberty has a major crush on him.
Yep. Oh yeah, revealing this idea so that Liberty is, kind of pining for JT from afar, and is interested in him, kind of the crush that we saw Toby having with Emma before, and they give it the same treatment, although not with the weird dance music daydream that we got with Toby in that case, but we still get the feeling, the kind of point of view ideas or shots to show Liberty starting to fall for JT in this case.
Yep. Liberty then asked JT to interview him, so she wants to interview JT. Manny and Emma then make fun of him. Then Sean and Liberty say how do you say it, haikus?
Haikus. Oh, Drooney, a disappointment for me to hear about the Connecticut school system. Do you not recall haiku poetry? It's a format where you have 3 lines. The first line has 5 syllables, the second 7, and the third 5. They're very short poems.
Yeah. I thought it was 4 lines, 3 to 4 lines, yeah.
No, it's an early, like when learning poetry and writing poetry, it's an early form to teach students to kind of practice or writing in those. So yeah, we get them all performing there. We get Emma sharing hers with Sean before, and he's kind of rolling his eyes like, yeah, this is not an assignment for me. And when he does speak in front of the class, it is a haiku about a poem about hating poetry, which is, a nice little look at Sean. Made me think about the time when I wrote an essay about the waste of time writing this essay. So, good job, Sean. Like speaking to my 8th grade self, where I wrote about it was not about that waste of time writing an essay, but we had to write a like 5-page piece over spring break, and my essay was about all the things I did on spring break instead of writing this essay. So kind of 8th grade Sean and 8th grade me have a little same spirit there with approaches to studies, it would seem.
And even Miss Swan is like, alrighty. I mean, it's not the best work, but it's passable. So she gives him a pass for this haiku.
Gives him a pass for that, yeah. We should note that, again, from a continuity standpoint that I love, early on when we first see Miss Kwan, they were still studying Lord of the Flies, a carryover from last episode. So hooray, they're probably at the end of the book now and finding out. Good job, Degrassi.
Mm-hmm. So then Liberty says her haiku, and then she starts looking at JT like in love, and JT's like, why are you staring at me? He doesn't say that loud to her, but he knows that Liberty is puppy dog love with JT.
Yeah, Liberty really going with the, maybe not recommended strategy of reading a poem about your clearly inspired by your classmate in front of the class, but subtlety, not exactly her thing.
Mm-hmm. So then Mr. Kerwin speaks in Ashley's class, telling old war stories, and then Paige, Terry, and Ashley are talking about why Ashley's dad left them. And then her dad offers Ashley a ride home. So they're wondering, and even Ashley doesn't know why her dad left. He's like, yeah, they just fell out of love and stuff, I don't know why.
And at the same time, there's kind of a hope, it seems, that Paige and Terry have even kind of put in Ashley of this daydream about maybe they're going to get back together, her and her, her dad and her mom, or maybe there's hope for like him being part of this like family more so because he's back in Toronto, right?
Yeah. And even Paige is like, oh, well, I want to go out with your dad. It's like, that's just.
Yeah, that was kind of unspoken. We didn't mention, but the response from the students in the class was impressed with that he had been in a war zone as a reporter, I guess, not as a soldier, but, since he in his media training, and that as Ashley or as Paige and other female students pointed out, he's a very handsome gentleman.
Yep. Toby,
her mother even says about her dad earlier is like, he just gets more handsome with age, which even Ashley perks up at, thinking, oh, so you still are in love with him, and maybe this is promising for her.
Mm-hmm. Toby finds JT in his locker, and Liberty says JT is late. With the interview, JT says he can't do the interview because him and Toby have dance lessons. Liberty then pulls JT to do the interview.
Yep, drags him along anyway. Liberty's gonna get this done. This profile for the Grapevine is really important for JT, and JT is looking for any way to avoid more time with Liberty or whatever. He does the classic trying to make him an excuse, so he's scanning the walls in the area around him and sees the sign for a dance recital and says, yeah, we're practicing dance. So, and Toby actually goes along with it, of all things. He's like, yeah, that's right. Today we're learning. I forget what dance he says they're learning, but they're learning
dancing, I think, or ballroom.
Yeah.
One of the two.
Ballroom dancing. There you go.
Mm-hmm. Ashley and her dad pull up, and Ashley's happy. Her dad is back in town. Ashley sees her mom kiss her dad. Ashley and her mom are talking. Ashley thinks her parents want to get back together, but her mom says Ashley's dad is gay, so the big secret is out, and Ashley is stunned to hear this.
Yeah, very much a of its time storyline here, right? In 2001, early 2002, to be able to go with this on TV based off the cultural zeitgeist or kind of celebration of LGBTQ or inclusion of that in society that we have more so now. But yeah, her conversation with her mom starts from like, what? It's not that you're not getting together. She initially says, was there another woman he fell in love with? She's like, no, it's not that. Like, we're just not together. She's like, so what? I mean, it's not like he's gay or something. Her mom laughs and he's just like, no, it's not a joke. It's not a joke, Ashley. Your dad is gay. And we get to that, and that's the big revelation.
So that
possibly includes of all drama things in Degrassi, the best decision they've made director-wise, they go with this amazing dolly zoom shot on Ashley as she, after hearing the revelation that her dad is gay, which is that shot where our lens is zooming in at the same time while the camera is pulling out, so it gives this weird effect of like the background moving alongside where we're zooming in on the character's face, and it's really disorienting, but also meant to carry on that idea of like feeling out of place. And we haven't seen much in cinematography choices from Degrassi, so that they use this here in this key moment is like really calling attention to it, and it's brilliant. It works well.
Yep. Then the next day at school, JT is asking Toby how Ashley's dad does it with other guys. And Toby goes, I don't know. And then Toby asks JT about the interview, and JT basically says no comment. Ashley was going to tell Terry in the cafeteria about her dad, but Paige interrupts and asks if Ashley ever wondered if her dad was gay. Ashley throws her chocolate milk on Paige and walks away, but Paige says her brother is gay. So we find out that Paige has a brother who is gay, and he is going to become a character in maybe like the next two seasons, like the third season here. It's not like it's a character that's brought up and is never discussed again, where we don't even see who the brother is, like Heather Sinclair. We see who this brother is going to be and his origins.
Yeah, he's they keep true to what they've set up for him here, that there is a brother and that we do know he's gay. Ashley settling into her kind of coping depressed idea, which is drinking chocolate milk and eating cafeteria fries by herself. I don't know if that's your go-to move when feeling down. Bruni is the chocolate milk and fries. but for Ashley, that's when Terry and them come up to her like, wow, you seem to be acting all weird because of the chocolate milk and fries? I don't know. Good call on Paige's, and Paige's like shock at being things being thrown at her when she was trying to help. But, she didn't really make that clear up front. She had good intention. She was coming to her to say, hey, I understand, like, that might be how this might be weird. Like, my brother is gay. But instead, she didn't get around to that because Ashley is so kind of on edge from the revelation already. I think that she wasn't ready to listen to anybody.
Liberty is outside with Emma and Manny, and she daydreams about JT again and wants to ask him out. And then Toby and JT are talking to each other, and JT's like, what do I do? I just don't want to go out with her, and I don't like her. And Toby says, tell her the truth. And JT has another thing in mind. He's going to tell Liberty that he's gay. So John, I didn't know if you noticed it, but look at the retroness of the shot. There was the Razor scooter and the vintage Gatorade bottle as well in the shot.
Oh, back to 2001, 2002 again. Okay.
Yeah.
Razor scooters. Okay. That is that is definitely of its time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was not a Razor scooter guy, and I remember like at this point I would be commuting to work sometimes and see the, even like business guys in a suit riding a Razor scooter and think like you might as well just walk. Like this is a bad look for you right here. Save this for the kids at Degrassi Street.
Yeah. So then,
But yeah, I think this has been such great use of Toby over these two episodes as he is settling into more of the role that he's suited for here. Like this being JT's storyline and his plan, and Toby is somewhere to bounce ideas off and also offer some kind of like good reactions to JT's ideas, and even supporting and going along with them at times is great. When Toby's not driving the bus, I'm on board. This is better use of him, right?
Yeah, that he should just be the supporting character instead of being the main character here. So then JT has an idea saying that he's going to tell Liberty that he's gay, and JT and Toby's like, dude, don't do that. Just tell her the truth. But JT's going to go with his plan anyway.
Yeah, and JT's taking inspiration for this from the situation with Ashley's dad. And he's like, well, you saw how it had this effect, and it got them divorced, or got, so if that's the case, this will get Liberty to stop paying attention to me. Interesting strategy from JT here, and we'll see how it plays out for him. We're seeing better usage of Toby here as being the person to kind of like listen, a sounding board for JT, a side character who can his reactions are funny or add depth to the scenario, but he's not like dominating things. I think this is a thing that we see with a lot of ensemble shows where early on they're trying out different characters, seeing what clicks and whatnot, and eventually people settle into roles and they can get like a standout episode each season that's dedicated to them or not. But Toby is, and the grade 7 kids for that matter are kind of starting to be more of a B plot and more of a not the featured players. And that's great. That's fine.
Yeah. Ashley's dad says it's time they have a talk, and then JT tells Liberty he is gay. Liberty buys it, but is shocked at this revelation. Like, her jaw drops, like, really? And he's like, yeah, I'm totally like gay. I'm in love with guys and boys. I love boys. Ashley, go ahead.
Really, like, very, very convincing performance here by JT, right?
Yep. Ashley and her dad are talking about her dad coming out. Her dad says he tried to make it work, but he couldn't. Like, he tried to make his marriage work, like by having Ashley. She's the only child. I keep forgetting that her and Toby are not brother and sister; they're stepbrother and sister. Right. I was like, oh yeah, he had 2 kids. No, he only had the one kid, and it's Ashley. But he couldn't. JT then does like an acting job with Liberty. He's like, hey, girlfriend, like, hey. And so JT, being a stereotypical gay person, Ashley's dad.
JT using the same acting coach that to ramp up gayness, gay characteristics that Jimmy used to ramp up hyperactive antics in the previous episode. They're just like, this is what you do, guys. Just like as over the top as you can.
Ashley's dad says he has a partner, and I think his name is Eric, and Ashley actually met Eric one time at like a party. Ashley is mad because she thinks that all her dad did was lie to her, but that's not really the case. It's just that he had to go find himself, and Ashley just wasn't ready to wasn't ready to have the talk yet with her dad, or vice versa, weren't ready to give her the talk.
Yeah, I think this is such a realistic and genuine portrayal of how a teenager would respond in a situation like this, and the feelings, how different actions of parents can be perceived. Of, is this because of, like, out of not ever loving me, or like how things can change in a family or in a dynamic, and that this gentleman's had the feelings, but and feeling like that was always the way then, so we were always feeling that. Is like, that's not the case, right? Her father tries to explain this, and and as to why it was the reason that he hadn't shared it with her yet, hoped that she would understand when she was older. I don't think he does. Like, he goes immediately on the defensive and overreacts to be like, see, this is why I didn't tell you. Look how you're acting crazy here, Ashley. Like, all right there, Dad. Let's try to be a bit more supportive here. Mm-hmm. But I think for Ashley, and for just a genuine and authentic portrayal here that is not cartoonish, and would be a reason why this show is attractive, is popular, because of its, like, honesty in these situations. I thought that was great.
Mm-hmm. Liberty then meets with JT in the hallway, and Liberty asks JT if he wants to come out in the grapevine as part of the interview, that this is the big secret that JT York has been keeping. But then JT says, I'm not gay, I just don't like you. And then Liberty then says, well, you should have just told me the truth, and that you weren't interested and stuff. So that sort of wraps up, but, like, it's sort of dumb because, like, he really did, like, lie about everything and, like, kind of hurt Liberty's feelings instead of, like, being honest about it. So JT kind of a jerk, but Liberty does forgive him.
Right. And that's part of the nuance of the show. Like, they're not all great people. They're not all perfect. They make mistakes. They sometimes learn from them. Sometimes they're still going to have those bad traits. JT's still going to be this kind of, like, flaky guy who struggles to, like, be open with his feelings because he likes pleasing people, and probably did that with Liberty. Like, he doesn't want to be mean, but at the same time, he doesn't like her in that way. Life would be a lot easier if he's able to do that, and if a lot of us were able to, like, be open and honest about those feelings. But he's going to have that keep happening, and that's, again, just kind of the way these characters are being developed is perfect for that, and makes Degrassi into the show that is compelling to revisit and to come back to, because it gives, like, real authentic portrayals of seemingly small issues and seemingly larger issues at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Ashley is then telling Terry she is mad at her dad and wants to cut her dad out of her life, because she is mad that her dad has been lying to her, even though he was just trying to protect Ashley from like, either, like, being made fun of for it, or that she would have to deal with it. So Terry then says, well, you have both parents, my mom died, you shouldn't cut your dad out, and you should be accepting and understand why your dad did it for you. So we leave, like, this episode with Ashley, like, rethinking, do I still want to be a part of my dad's life, or do I not want my dad to be a part of my life?
Yeah, once again, we're left with that kind of uncertainty in a character who has had a change thrust upon them. Jimmy with the basketball dream being taken away, and Ashley here now with new family dynamic and a relationship with her dad that is changing. And both of them are going to make decisions and take steps towards, like, what they do in that new reality they're facing. It's not something that, again, it's not something that's just ended and wrapped up in 30 minutes. The show is more than that. And Ashley's, like, expression here at the end is, demonstration of that she's going to, like, have to consider, like, yeah, I am fortunate to have this person still in my life, unlike Terry, whose mother is gone. And how do I manage that? How do I take that and be grateful for it instead of the way I've been behaving.
Mm-hmm. So that's going to do it from us here on the Degrassi episodes that we're covering here tonight. But John, before we go, do you have anything that you want to direct the listeners to?
Oh, Grooney.
Well,
MVP,
John,
win MVP this.
My fault. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. John, I think we know what the MVP is, and I'm going to say mine. It's Ashley.
100%. Yeah, this is Ashley's episode. She has grown as a character, as somebody who clearly has, a very kind of realized personality, but also, kind of conflicts in her life that we've seen over a few episodes. We don't even get her relationship with Jimmy at all in this episode because she's able to be her own person, not just a girlfriend. I think there's a lot to be said for being able to thrust these things upon her as the writers or directors do here, and that there's trust that she can carry it. And it was a great episode for her.
Yes, it was. And now we need to see what happens with Ashley and her dad's relationship. But Ashley did a great job acting like she's angry, she's happy, she's all these emotions into one.
Mm-hmm. Do you have an LVP for this? Is there somebody who didn't do anything for us here?
Yeah, I think it's JT, just for the fact that he wasn't honest and he didn't tell the truth. So he's like the LVP of not telling Liberty the truth, that he just wasn't interested in him playing a gay stereotype.
Yeah, I think that, we would look to I would look to JT on that as well, and kind of his hello girlfriend accent, affectations, and things that get invoked in order to really prove his quote unquote prove his gayness to Liberty is a bit over the top, and that's his solution shows not exactly the brightest bulb here.
No, it doesn't.
But Groening, but on top of that, one treat, I thought maybe you would be inspired as well. But Miss Kwan's haiku class, and Sean's even poetry again about hating poetry, inspired me to think about some haikus about this show that we are following. So if you'll indulge me, I'll share with you in the audience 2 haikus that I have for inspired by Degrassi.
Gotcha.
And my first, it goes there, they said. Weed, Ritalin, cocaine, speed. Degrassi knows drugs. And then my second, absurd and profound, from heartbreak to hidden scars. Teens face every storm. There you go. I hope Miss Kwan would be able to grade these well, and I could move into the next year at Degrassi along with my classmates there.
Yeah, because when you graduate middle school, you really don't graduate.
So that I can graduate and be in the same school with everybody for the next 3 years.
Yeah. And we do have a new character that we introduced tonight, that is Coach Armstrong.
Welcome aboard, Coach Armstrong. Most play we've seen from Miss Kwan here. Yeah, so nothing. I mean, an off-screen character. We get Mr. Radish's assistant, who he calls to who's going to be monitoring Spinner's Ritalin intake, but that's about it.
Yep. So that's going to do it from us here on Whatever It Takes for the coverage of Degrassi. But like I said, John, do you have anything that you want to direct the listeners to?
I haven't. Let's see. I've just recorded another 9021 No-So podcast that probably will be out in another month or so. They are very ahead of their track on those. That you can always check out if you're looking for an American counterpart to teen melodramas, where we break down episodes of 90210. Aside from that, I'm usually active in the Place to Be Nation chats and discussions on Place to Be Nation site on Facebook and in the Instagram for 90210 as well. So join the groups, join the YouTube follows for videos there where there's usually some good discussions as well. And we'll catch up with you there.
Thank you, John. As for me, you can always find me on the Place to Be Nation wrestling feed. I have 2 podcasts. One is called Extreme Resurrection, where me and Steve Riddle go over ECW on Sci-Fi from 2006 2010. We are getting to Survivor Series 2007, where it will be The Miz, CM Punk, and John Morrison for the ECW title in a triple threat match. So we're going to get the fallout from Survivor Series 2007 and see who is the ECW champion. And also you can find me on my podcast, Nation Invasion. I just dropped a new episode with Scott Shiflett as my guest as we covered Raw and SmackDown from September 17th and September 20th, 2001. We are on the go-home editions of those shows onto Unforgiven 2001. Stone Cold Steve Austin tries to take out Kurt Angle before the pay-per-view. Chronic cost the Undertaker and Kane the WWF tag titles versus the Dudley Boys. And Moppy has been killed by Raven. So if you want to find out what happens to Moppy, listen to that episode of Nation Invasion. Well, that's going to do it from us here. I want to thank John Kesselika for locking down another 2 episodes, and we will see you next time.